Hello and welcome to Kingston Now. I'm Jimmy Buff. Childhood obesity is a nationwide problem, and one that, according to a new study released by the Ulster County Department of Health, is hitting home too. Here to talk about that with us is the head of the Ulster County Department of Health, Dr. Lamar Hasbrook. Hi, Lamar.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm sorry, doctor.
That's fine.
You guys have just done an extensive study, and the results show that we have an childhood obesity problem in the area. Tell me about the study.
That's correct.
How was it done?
Sure. Well, the study is actually a follow-up study. Back in 2006, we did our first study where we looked at first and third graders, and basically we used the measure BMI, or body mass index, which is kind of a measure of obesity or overweight, or actually underweight as well. And so what we basically did is we went to the schools, all those that wanted to participate, and we got information on the kids. Basically, you need the height and the weight, and you can calculate this figure. And based on where they fall in terms of comparing them to other kids around their same age or grade, we can determine if they're underweight, normal weight, overweight, or obese. So the recent study actually repeated the study 4 years later. So the first study was done in 2006. We repeated it using 2010 information, and we just released it in 2011. The differences in this study were that in addition to first and third graders, we actually looked at fifth and seventh graders as well.
What were the differences between 4 years ago and now? Was there a huge increase, a marked increase?
Sure. Okay, there are a couple of things. One, when you're looking at first and third graders now and 4 years ago, they're about the same. So you see about 30 to 35% of those kids are overweight or obese. In looking at fifth and seventh graders, we actually plotted first, third, fifth, and seventh, and we actually see an upward trajectory, meaning that as a kid gets older, they actually gain weight. So first graders, about 32% were overweight, then went to 35% in third graders, 40% in fifth graders, and then 42% in seventh graders. So there was a statistically significant increase in being overweight or obese as kids age.
What is the difference in being overweight versus being obese?
Well, when you're looking at kids, it's slightly different. Normally, to be considered obese, which is a morbid condition, it means that you're at very high risk for other medical problems. So that's overweight times 2. You're actually, really overweight, where we're concerned about your health. But in this particular measure, if you're in the 95th percentile or higher, meaning that 95% of kids weigh less than you, you're considered obese. If you're in the overweight category, if you're 85 percentile or higher. So between 85 percentile and 94, you're overweight. 95 percentile and above, you're obese.
What are some of the health-related issues with being obese?
Well, there's a number of them. When you're talking about children, the most significant one that we think about is diabetes. When I went to medical school, we learned about 2 types of diabetes. One was called insulin-dependent diabetes, which we called type 1, and the other was non-insulin-dependent diabetes, which we called type 2, or adult-onset diabetes. Now, children are actually getting type 2 diabetes. So the biggest risk factor for being overweight or obese is that you would have an early onset of diabetes, and that puts you at risk for all kinds of health problems, including heart disease, including high cholesterol, including problems with your eyes, problems with your kidneys. It's a systemic condition that can actually shorten your life and will shorten your life over time.
How big of a health issue is this for the children of Ulster County?
It's a significant health issue. In fact, for the Department of Health, it's one of our hot button topics. It's one of our key health indicators here. It's right at the top of our priority list. We have kids who are now in some of the school districts. We actually had 8 of 9 school districts participate in this recent study. One school district, to give you an example, had girls, 5th grade girls, 53% of 5th grade girls in this one district were overweight or obese. That's more kids overweight and obese than normal weight. So it's a huge, huge problem.
That's a stunning number.
It is.
Yeah.
It was very arresting.
So you have these results, you get them, you're obviously concerned about them. You have a plan of action. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yes, we do. Well, the first plan of action is to share the information with the school. Interestingly, we needed to make the study kind of a blind study. In other words, we didn't identify those school districts, the 8 out of 9 that participated, but we will be sharing, and we have actually shared the reports, school district specific reports to those districts. Each school district typically has a wellness committee made up of PTA members and others that are looking at health issues that are concerned for their school. So our first plan of action is to give them the information that they can use and begin to dissect it, digest it, and come up with their own action plan locally.
We're talking with Dr. Lamar Hasbrook from the Ulster County Department of Health. Next up, we're going to chat with Melinda Herzog from the Cornell Cooperative Extension's Creating Healthy Places to Live, Work, and Play initiative. Welcome back to Kingston Now. Right now we're joined by Melinda Herzog from the Cornell Cooperative Extension's Creating Healthy Places to Live, Work, and Play initiative. Hi, Melinda.
Hi, how are you?
That's an ambitious title for a program. Tell me about it.
This is a grant that's awarded by the New York State Department of Health. It's one of 22 in New York State. And it addresses obesity and diabetes type 2, but the goal of it is to change environment and policy in our county. So it's not just educating people, it's more about actually changing policies and environments so that it becomes easier to eat more healthily and it becomes easier to be more active because it's going to change the area in which we live, and it's going to do that in several ways. We've got a lot of partner agencies. The Ulster County Department of Health is certainly one partner, and they will be working with restaurants to try to get them to create healthier menus and better portion sizes. They're also working with after-school programs to work with healthier after-school snacks and reducing screen time and also physical activity. And the Ulster County, I'm saying the Ulster County, is the Community Heart Health Coalition will also be working with child care centers, and they'll be working with a program we call Knapsack. And that also will work with the centers to change their policies that they will have healthier snacks, they'll have increased physical activity, and they will also have reduction in screen time. And reduction in screen time, of course, refers to reducing the time spent in front of television, video games, computers, so that the kids are more active and they're eating better. And then we're also working with Gilmore Planning, who's going to be initiating Complete Streets. It's already been accomplished in Kingston, in the city of Kingston, by the Healthy Kingston for Kids program. But now we're working with Ellenville and Phoenicia to initiate a Complete Streets program. And that program basically is designing a street that's made for everyone, not just automobiles, but also bicycles and walkers. So
you're talking about actually physically changing a street.
It will change the policies so that when they have a construction project or something new, they have to consider the entire population when they're fixing the street or they're creating new streets. So that they'll add sidewalks, they'll add bicycle paths, they'll add things where it's possible. Obviously it's very cost prohibitive, but where it's possible they'll certainly have to consider that to make it easier for pedestrians and bicyclists. So that's not just getting out there to do it for fun, but it can actually be your transportation mode to make it easier, more accessible. We'll be working with we are working with the City of Kingston Parks and Rec, and they've got this whole Use Your Parks campaign, and they're creating bilingual brochures, signage, programs to entice people into the parks in the City of Kingston, and an open space and master draft plan for recreation. Will also be occurring in the City of Kingston to complement what's already been done with Complete Streets. And again, at this first year with the grant, we're focused on Ellenville, the City of Kingston, and Phoenicia. And after that, we've got another 3.5 years to focus on other towns in the county.
Why those three communities?
The communities were chosen because Phoenicia, being a hamlet, is a very small rural community, and then Ellenville being a small village, and of course the City of Kingston being an urban population. So they were chosen to demonstrate how affecting environment and policy will affect different communities.
So rather than encouraging people to change a lifestyle themselves, it seems like this initiative is going to actually give people just the choice to live healthy? In other words, you'll go to a place and there won't be junk food on the menu.
Well, one of the other partners is the Kingston Land Trust, and one of the things that they're working towards is creating a community garden in each of the 3 communities. Now, there are several community gardens in these communities, but we're increasing the number of them and also looking at food deserts, which are areas that are underserved by fresh produce and healthy foods. So we're going to try to create, in Kingston and Ellenville, what we call a veggie van. We'd like to be able to bring produce to people that are underserved so that they can purchase it reasonably. And of course, if people can't get to fresh foods because they don't have transportation, we want to be able to provide that to them. Because if you're walking over a mile to buy fresh produce, it's a little too far. It becomes inhibitive. And you're going to go to that neighborhood convenience store and buy something that's not quite so healthy for you. And conversely, we'll be working with those convenience stores and bodegas to see what they offer and try to improve what they're selling.
Melinda Herzog from the Cornell Cooperative Extensions. Now help me with the title. Work?
Creating healthy places to live, work, and play.
Live, work, and play. Got it. Thanks. Another option for kids' activity is the Ulster County YMCA, and in a moment we'll talk with Heidi Kirshner, the Executive Director of the Y, about their kids' programs. This is Kingston Now, and we're exploring the issue of childhood obesity. With us is Heidi Kirshner, Executive Director of the Ulster County YMCA, located just up Broadway from us here in Kingston. Heidi, we've been talking about childhood obesity, and one thing that seems important is activity for kids. Can you tell us about some of the activities you have for kids at the Y?
Yeah, we have so many activities going on, and what we try to do with the kids is, to get them curious, get them interested, get them engaged, and then get them active. And so it starts at, a very young age, and we go as young as like 6 months, getting kids in the pool with their parents and doing activities together. And then what we do next is we work with 3 to 5-year-olds, and they're actually the cutest group to work with. You start with 3s, and they actually do bitty basketball, bitty baseball. We're going to do bitty flag football this fall. And what is so nice about that is that the kids are very involved, but the parents can't help but be involved. And we actually had one parent who participated in the bitty baseball with us this spring who lost 8 pounds because he was running around with the kids trying to get them going. And they had a blast. It was fun. And I think that's the key is, to have fun while you're doing it. The Y is known as a place to go and play organized sports, basketball, or to learn how to swim. And of course, we have those programs going all the time, and we have swim lessons going year-round. But we also are trying to introduce some of those activities that maybe aren't so organized, that maybe just are activities that are fun for kids to do and to go out and explore different things and be interested in, be active. We have a great bike program that goes to different bike trails throughout Ulster County. And we have a great leader, instructor, Tom Polk, who loves bike riding, loves teaching about bike riding. And we ride the different trails throughout Ulster County. And kids become interested in bike riding, and they recognize that, this county has a lot of great spots.
Now, do they have to have their own bike, or
Nope.
the Y has their own?
We will
that's
provide
great.
bikes and helmets if a child needs it. And the program for that is very inexpensive. It's $30. You don't have to be a member. If you're a member, it's less, and we encourage the parents to participate. And it's really a lot of fun. I know last year they did a great bike ride later in the spring when it started getting hot, and then they took a bike ride to a swimming hole, and then they went swimming, for about 15, 20 minutes, and then they rode back again.
Now that's the essence of country living.
And now
right there.
it was so fun.
Yeah.
And then we've also done the New Paltz Rail Trail. We did to the walk across the Hudson. Just, experiencing Ulster County and the beauty of Ulster County. And it's a Y program, but we're trying to get people outside of, the buildings, their homes, to experience the outside and be active and enjoy.
And you guys also have the Kingston Classic, the Kids Classic, right?
Yes, we did partner with Kiwanis to kind of have a classic weekend going on. But that, again, the Kids Classic is another thing that goes on. We have a training before that, where we encourage, and that's free, we encourage any kid who wants to come in and try to get healthy and build themselves up for the Kids Classic.
Which is a running race.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that one, we actually had one parent who worked alongside their child, and he lost 20 pounds training his kid for the Kids Classic. And I was like, you know, that's the essence of what we're trying to get. So you get kids involved with activities, and you know what, the parents come along too. And also, aside from activities, it's very important to teach kids. And because I believe when you teach kids, you're also kind of teaching their parents.
Sure.
And so we have this fall, we have a lot of educational programs going on where we'll talk about high blood pressure, we're going to teach about diabetes, we're going to have kid classes about cooking. Diane Reeder actually won a Rachel Ray kitchen, and she's donated to the Y, so we're in the midst right now of building a learning kitchen so that, you know, one day a week or a couple of days a month, we'll be able to have families come in on like a Wednesday. They just bring themselves because everybody has a hectic life. And then we'll get local sponsors, restaurants or whatever, to come in and prepare nutritious meals and teach parents. It's not that difficult to, you know, have a nutritious meal and have it not be that expensive. And so we hope to kick that off in the fall and get that going.
Has programming changed at the Y to sort of mirror what's going on with childhood obesity? Or is there an intent here as well with you know, mirroring the issues that are facing kids these days?
Absolutely. You try not to be in their face about it, you know, because you just want to instill good habits. Mm-hmm. And so if you set the example of, you know, giving them decent snacks, you know, healthy snacks, and you set the example of with gardening, we have a gardening program, we teach kids about gardening. If you give them that example, they're going to learn, and then they'll mimic it. And by doing that, and hopefully a lot of it, if we teach them, they bring it home to their families, their siblings and their parents or parent, and they teach them as well.
This is Kingston Now, and in a moment, some final words from Dr. Lamar Hasbrook. Welcome back to Kingston Now, and once again, Dr. Lamar Hasbrook. Doctor, the numbers you were talking about of obesity in the area, ranging from 30 to 50%, are huge.
That's right.
What would be considered normal or acceptable?
Well, what's acceptable by national standards based on Healthy People 2010, which are objectives for the country, is a target of around 5% for children and teens. So 5%, contrast that to 35% on average, with all the way up to 53% in some groups who are kind of way off the mark.
What has changed to make that number leap? You know, as a kid, mm-hmm. I ate Twinkies and watched TV.
Right.
You know, I played outside,
okay.
But I did a fair amount of that stuff. Is
Sure.
it simply that screen time, computers, video games, things like that has increased so much? Is that it? Is it the decline in activity?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors. You know, I think certainly some of those that you brought up, Jimmy, are important. I think that when you talk about outside play, that has certainly gone down. You know, I had to go outside. I had to get out of the house as a kid and play outside. Now kids are more insulated. You know, they're into technology. They're doing Facebook, social media. They're doing games and gaming and things. So I think outside play has decreased. I think you might also look at physical activity and recess in schools, not only the amount that's in the curriculum, but the amount that kids participate. Again, when I was a kid, you had to have your shorts and your shirt, usually had the school logo on it, and you had to go out there and run around. Nowadays, they can socialize. They can wear street clothes. So that's a piece of it. I think another major contribution is portion size. When you look at the globesity epidemic, you got to look at the supersized epidemic as well. So portions are just so out of control that kids lose control and self-control. So I think that has a major contribution also. When you're talking about a healthy weight, there's really only two major ingredients: calories consumed and physical activity that you do. It's really a very simple formula. And I think when you look at our kids, they've decreased their amount of physical activity and they've increased their portion sizes, and that's why we're where we're at.
We were talking with Melinda Herzog before, who you're working with the Cornell Cooperative Extension,
Yes.
and they're talking about changing some of this stuff almost at a structural level.
Yes.
You know, I have a friend who has as a school teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't buy ice cream in a machine before 1 p.m.
Certainly.
Things like that.
Certainly.
What else can be done? What can be done on the lifestyle level, and what would you like to see happen?
Well, firstly, I happen to know that there's not many kids, children and teens, that do grocery shopping. All right, so their parents are doing the grocery shopping and bringing in the food choices. So I think we've got to start with the parents and the caregivers and make sure they're providing healthy options for their children and for their teens. Likewise, we need to look at the school lunches. We need to look at school vending machines and things like that. Again, prepare an environment where healthy choices are not only available but encouraged, and I think you may start get some traction there. In addition, parents again and caregivers have to ensure that their kids unplug and get outside, get some fresh air, do some physical activity. So those are some of the basic stuff. It doesn't cost any money to unplug that TV and get your kid outside, but that's kind of what's needed.
A trip to the grocery store for you when
Yes.
you're on the checkout line and you're behind a family and you see what they're buying.
Yes.
Is there a time when you have to say, excuse me, I'm a doctor.
Right.
You don't need to do that.
You know, I don't impose my own beliefs, but I definitely feel tempted to do that. I certainly feel tempted to do that. And, you know, I try to lead by example. You know, my kids, I encourage them, they're athletic, I encourage them to participate in sports. We go grocery shopping together, and I encourage them to do healthy snacking. They get the ice cream and the other stuff, but it's all in balance, it's all in perspective. So by leading by example, I think, you know, I'm embedding good habits, good healthy habits in them that will carry through a lifetime.
And so personally, obviously you're affected by it because
Yes.
you're doing it for your kids, but is that sort of reflecting back to your own life as well? Is it change the way you eat, change the way you exercise?
Sure, it does. You know, about 5 years ago or so, I got my oldest daughter involved in track, and then I was running with her and then kind of practicing with her, and I started competing, you know, and so, you know, I think, again, if you do things jointly with your kid, you know, that's good bonding time, that's good family time, and it's healthy. So, you know, if you get them encouraged and you support them and you participate, I think they have an easier time with it, and you begin to reach your health goals as well.
Yeah, and retraining yourself so that when you have the urge for a fast food burger, you know that there's another option. Those sort of things make a huge difference.
That's exactly right.
Terrific. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of Kingston Now. We'd like to thank Dr. Lamar Hasbrook of the Ulster County Department of Health, Melinda Herzog of Cornell Cooperative Extension, and Heidi Kirshner from the Ulster County YMCA. I'm Jimmy Buff. See you next time on Kingston Now.